politics is absolutely unpredictable came home today with the headline that India woke up to. Hindenburg, the short seller that almost all of us know in connection with Gautam Adani and their allegations against the Adani Group, suddenly announced, apropos of nothing, that they had decided to shut shop. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo Story. The Hindenburg Research Group, a short seller that has been responsible for wiping out $150 billion in value from the Adani stock, has announced that it is saying bye bye. There was no clear reason offered for why this decision has been taken by its founder, Nathan Anderson. However, the decision by the group to shut down obviously brings a political twist to India. What does this decision do to Rahul Gandhi's political fixation with Gautam Adani? The BJP, of course, today seized the moment to do I told you so. However, the Congress reacted by saying that this was in no way to be seen as a clean chit for what they call quote unquote Modani, because they've accused Gautam Adani of being far too close to the Prime Minister and to the government and benefiting from that. We do not yet know why Hindenburg has decided to say bye bye. But even within the Congress and the opposition ecosystem, there have been questions about why Rahul Gandhi is singularly obsessed with Gautam Adani. So much so that even when there was a debate around Ambedkar and Amit Shah's speech on Baba Sahib Ambedkar, Mr. Gandhi invoked Gautam Adani even at that time. Is this the end of the Adani issue as a political issue for Rahul Gandhi? Let's introduce our panel today as we look at this very interesting and dramatic and unexpected twist. Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate, is with us. Good to see you, Sanjay. Tavleen Singh, well-known author and columnist, is with us. Good to see you, Tavleen, after ages. Tehseen Poonawala, supporter of the Congress party and the Gandhi family, not necessarily of their fixation on the Adani issue, is with us. And also joining us is Sumant Raman, political analyst. Thank you very much, everybody. Tavleen, let me start with you. Two not so good days for Rahul Gandhi in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, he fumbled in his choice of words, certainly when he spoke about fighting the Indian state. Today, his pet issue certainly gets weakened when the short seller, the research group, which is also a short seller, basically announces that it's downing shutters. How do you see it?
Well, I really think that I hope this will help Rahul Gandhi get away from this obsession with Adani. Perhaps Adani has made those mistakes that he's supposed to have made, etc. And perhaps he does fund the BJP more than other financiers, other businessmen. But it's always been that way. I mean, the Congress party had its lot of financiers. These guys now finance the BJP. I don't think that he should have made as much fuss about it as he has. And, I mean, as you said, as you pointed out in your introduction, when you're discussing Ambedkar, you drag in Adani, and then, all those, all that kind of childish stuff with the bags and I really think that Rahul Gandhi needs to sit down and think about whether he can be more mature in his responses to important political issues.
So, do you believe that his singular obsession with Gautam Adani has been immature and not necessarily supported by his own colleagues? There have been Congress chief ministers who have welcomed Gautam Adani's group into their states with open arms. There are allies, if Sharad Pawar is still to be considered an opposition ally, who are known for their proximity to Gautam Adani. Do you believe that Rahul Gandhi has shown immaturity in his singular obsession
I do.
on the business?
Yeah, I do. I do. I really believe that he could have raised this in a more mature way and said, "Look, let's talk about political financing, and can we make
Hmm.
it more transparent?" And it should be, in my own opinion, I really believe that if like the Americans do, they start a super PAC, and industrialists, businessmen, Elon Musk openly
Yeah.
fund political parties. Why don't we have that here? Because they want to hide it. They want it all hidden and secretive, both the businessmen and the political parties. And I think that this is a good chance to raise that issue. And let's talk about what, there's no harm in Adani financing the BJP or Ambani financing anyone they want to. And, by the way, we don't want to get into the details, but but at that stage, when they get to businessmen, finance all political parties of any consequence. But we should do it more openly in India than we have done so far.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable comment from Tavleen. Business leaders have always been close to seats of power.
Yeah.
This didn't start with the BJP. It's not going to end with the BJP. Nobody really wants to have an honest debate about political financing. That's tedious. That's mundane. Instead, what you've seen is Rahul Gandhi so singularly focused on Gautam Adani that there has been no resonance for that issue within, I would say, the now rapidly defunct India Alliance. Sharad Pawar, assuming he's still on your side, is openly close to Gautam Adani. Mamata Banerjee has refused to join that chorus. Congress chief ministers have refused to join that chorus. Now that Hindenburg is downing shutters, right? You see Revanth Reddy on your screen. He's the latest chief minister to welcome the Adani Group. What would your advice be to Rahul Gandhi?
So again, thank you, Barkha, for having me. I'll divide this into two. I agree with Tavleen on the macro issue that we need reforms with regards to political financing. We must allow people who want to sort of political finance be answerable to parliaments and state assemblies. As a result of which, if there is a quid pro quo, the people know about it. And since it's all transparent, it is out there in the public domain, and that makes it easier for political parties as well as for businesses to finance. And you don't have to keep this deal secretive. So to that extent, I'm all with her. And I think it's important those reform debates start. As so far as this industrialist is concerned, before I speak specifically about him, it is the reality of our political discourse that even when the Prime Minister was in trouble during the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, he attacked both the industrialists of sending truckloads of money to the Congress and to the Gandhis. That was rebutted by Mr. Rahul Gandhi. And of course, the BJP falls back on it as well. So the BJP has also done that time and again. It's not that the BJP is kosher, but yes, this is a reality we live in. Now, coming to the specific issue of this industrialist, I often visualize myself in government in 2029 or 34. And I ask myself, if the Americans put out a notice against Mr. Gautam Adani, would I arrest him and hand him over to the Americans? And the honest answer I give myself, and this has nothing to do with politics, is no, I wouldn't do that, because you protect your people no matter what. Now, here's a group that's coming, a legitimate group, the Hindenburg. Short selling is a legitimate part of the markets. I agree completely in free markets, but this group is not some virtuous group that is preaching the morality promises to preach. It is a profit-making group. A profit-making group that thrives on profitability, nothing wrong there, except it preaches morality to others and itself is very opaque. So, Barkha, your opening statement was, you don't know why they shut down. None of us, if they were so transparent, why not come out and say, look, we are transparent. This is our reports. These are investigations. This is where we got it from. They put out a vague statement saying 6 months later, they consider putting it out. That's not fair.
Yeah.
If you expect transparency, if I expect transparency from Mojo Story and Barkha, and I expect Barkha to live up to that standard, I must also be transparent to return the show. It can't be a one-way street.
So why has the Congress been obsessed with it? Would you say the party you support has picked up the wrong issue, the one that doesn't have wider resonance? Huh?
It doesn't. It
is the wrong issue. Adani is the wrong issue. Okay.
Adani. Okay. Arguing on SEBI structural issues, arguing on governance issues, asking questions of SEBI is the right thing to do. Picking on one industrialist or two industrialists will not resonate. It will not resonate with an aspiring India. It is not the issue. And if I may just take 20 seconds more, as I told you on your podcast during the parliament session, the issues of India at that time was the economy collapsing, the jobs, Bangladesh, Syria, Manipur. You could have had the government on a mat, choke, and you could have had them 1, 2, 3 out. Instead, that entire session was wasted on Adani. That to me is unforgivable.
Sanjay Hegde, the Supreme Court set up an expert, or asked for the setting up of an expert panel to look into some of these charges. Later, one of the raging debates that flowed from this entire Adani Hindenburg debate was the conduct of the SEBI chairperson herself. That too has become a matter of debate. She has been accused by her critics of misleading the Supreme Court. There are all kinds of multiple layers of controversies that erupted from the original Hindenburg report. Now you have Hindenburg getting up saying we wanted to shake a few empires. We've shaken them. We have wiped out $150 billion in value from the Adani stock. And now we're going. No explanation. Does this damage the credibility of the issue that they sought to raise? Is this a warning to the Congress? Leave this issue alone now. It's done its time.
Well, somebody said that ordinary minds discuss people. It's great minds that discuss ideas. So, what were the ideas that Hindenburg put out? Hindenburg basically put out that the Adani empire was based on huge debt, it had overextended itself, and it was, in a sense, a kind of super Ponzi scheme, if I may use that word, where there was no underlying, where the underlying assets did not support that mountain of debt. Hindenburg then basically put out a warning that the stock was overrated, and it backed it up by short selling. These are things that anybody is entitled to do. The only difference is that most people do not put out their hunches or their research out in the market. Here they were using a megaphone saying, "This is what we have found. This is why we are short selling," and they were waiting for market forces to take over. By the way, Adani was only one of 7 empires that they went after. They included Jack Dorsey of Twitter and various others. That was their business model. And they are, some 8-person organization. And the tweet basically says that I'm going to find jobs for the rest of them. This was a chapter in my life. I've got over that chapter and I'll be doing something else.
Yeah.
Irrespective of whether they are around or not around, the issues that they have pointed out still remain. And the easiest way to overcome those issues is to ensure that there is a complete probe, complete transparency, and that people can then feel validated in their choice to continue remaining invested in the Adani story.
So you don't think the issue is weakened? You don't think the issue is weakened? You don't think the issue is weakened?
The communication may be weakened,
but the issue remains.
The resonance may be weakened, but the issue remains. The issues that have been highlighted still need some resolution, and that is independent of Hindenburg.
Okay, Tehseen has a one-line interjection, then Sumant, and then I'll come back to Tavleen. Yeah,
I agree. It's independent of Hindenburg, the issues that remain, but they're also independent of Adani. These are issues that our regulatory bodies need to strengthen. By targeting Adani, what happens, Barkha, and if I may just be political, because I'm a political animal, when you allow Adani in Telangana or Rajasthan, and the other day I was sitting with Ashok Geology, the problem is nobody then takes it seriously. If somebody is corrupt, if I think somebody is corrupt, I can't say he's corrupt in A, but not corrupt in B. So the public, the aspirational public does not see that. And the Congress then seems very left. That to me becomes the problem with the Adani issue and the way the Congress has found itself in a mess. And again, I'm saying letting go of parliament in this session when the government could have been on the mat or Adani was politically not the correct move.
Okay, Suman, before you respond, one of our viewers, Prasad, says, Barkha, the news doing the rounds here in the United States is that there are also grave allegations and violations that Hindenburg has been accused of, and a tacit nudge by the agencies to Hindenburg to quietly evaporate into the ether. Now, of course, it's also a good time to remember that that there has been talk of an indictment against Mr. Adani in the United States. Tehseen referenced that. So I think the point that Sanjay Hegde is making is whether Hindenburg comes and goes, the issues should stand on their own merit. What do you say?
Yeah. Barkha, a few very, very important points that I want to make. First of all, Hindenburg is somebody who has emerged as a whistleblower. Let us for a moment assume that he is a crook. His motives are bad. He wanted to do short selling. He has probably violated the law multiple times. Let's make an assumption, right? Now, I'll give you a parallel example. Hypothetically, a newspaper group exposes an alleged scam, and later the newspaper group shuts down, right? So would we then say the newspaper group exposed the scam, and maybe the newspaper group ran into financial difficulties, its promoter may have committed fraud. So therefore, we can ignore the facts that have come out in the public domain. Look, the problem with this group is not Hindenburg alone. If the charge,
Yeah.
look, the Department of Justice has got an investigation going in the US. The Swiss government has frozen $310 million worth of accounts linked, which of course the Adani Group denies that they are not its accounts, but they are what the Swiss authorities believe they are linked to the Adani Group. There is a long-standing charge that the Gujarat Electricity Board paid several thousand crores more than they should have paid to the Adani Group for purchase of power. There is in my home state, there is an inquiry which is going on right now that the Tamil Nadu Power Corporation, Tangentco, there is an allegation of I think it is a 2,000 or 3,000 crore overpayment which has been made and so on. So let's cut this entire bit about this being about Hindenburg. Hindenburg may have brought all of this out at an international level. But the point is, these grave charges have been made across multiple places in Kenya.
So are you saying
Hindenburg
Hindenburg is incidental in a way to the debate?
Hindenburg may be a person
Okay.
who sought to profit from whatever information they may have had. I am not for a moment saying Hindenburg is good guy, bad guy, crook. Let us assume he's a crook. The point is he has put out facts, or sort of what he calls as facts. There are transaction details. There are account numbers. There are transaction details. And on the basis of that, the charges have been made. The charges are not that, that insider trading happened and they must have done something. It was not like that. They put out pages and pages of specific content. And the DOJ's charge sheet.
Okay, Tavleen and then Tehseen. Tavleen.
When I said that he could have, that Rahul Gandhi should have raised this issue more maturely, what I meant was that, for instance, on the SEBI thing, why didn't the Congress party put pressure on the government to order an investigation into that? When he says that Adani has been given every port in India and every airport, etc. And by the way, I don't want to get into the salacious details of this, but there are huge stories behind this, which journalists are not writing and which should be written. But, people are, he's too powerful maybe. But if Rahul Gandhi had brought this out, not just as a personal, as if, like a personal thing against Adani and linking him to Modi, for instance, why does the BJP always defend Adani? That's a good question. Why does the BJP, why do senior ministers in Modi's government feel that they need to defend Adani? What is the reason for that? I really think that if Rahul Gandhi wants to continue with this Adani story, he should ask the questions in a reasonable way. It's not a joke.
So what's the mistake? What is the mistake you think Rahul Gandhi has made? Before Tehseen, someone, just give me a second. I'm coming to both of you. What is the mistake you think he's made in his communication on this?
He's made it very personal. Modi, Adani, bhai, running around like school children outside Parliament, with posters and masks and all that. That is ridiculous stuff. That is not even worth, a demonstration in a schoolyard. That's what I meant by reducing a very serious, important issue to a farce.
Tehseen, has the issue been reduced to a farce because of poor communication, poor politics?
Poor communication, very bad communication. I agree with what Suman said. Every single word of what Suman said. I've read the first Hindenburg report, and look, the markets are always right. Therefore, retail investors don't invest in these shares. So all of that, and we haven't got an answer to that so far from SEBI. For example, with regards to what are these shell companies. Now, again, for your viewers, shell companies can be both legal and illegal. These seem to be legal shell companies. I'm not getting into the details of it, but how come all of them have the same address in one apartment in Abu Dhabi? It's a simple question that we haven't got an answer for. So these are valid questions to ask. But again, those are structural, institutional questions. But I'll tell you where I disagree with Suman. Comparing it to a newspaper is not right. And I'll tell you why with respect. Because if a newspaper, or let's say if Barkha, pardon if I use you as an example, if Barkha was to break a story against a corporate, but Barkha is now selling the shares of the corporate to profit from it, is very different from Hindenburg. Hindenburg is a short selling firm. Again, it is legal. It is, if somebody is going short, somebody is going long. I'm not against free market, but Hindenburg is not is not a journalist group, or and if they are not a journalist group, if they are profiting from other people's miseries, and that's fine, then how they got that information is important, because that information could also have been misused to create panic in the market, as George Soros did with the GBR. As in when the UPA era was there, the Manmohan Singh ji and Pranab Mukherjee and Chidambaram were justifiably worried about George Soros shorting the rupee when we were trying to stabilize the rupee. So there are these issues, people who prey on free markets. That is completely different from a newspaper. Those are two different
Yeah,
issues.
I think that's an important point, Sumant, that this is about profiteering from that. It is a kind of playing, using information to sort of ratchet up your own profit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Two very
So
quick
I'm not
points.
sure the newspaper
One,
analogy holds, but
no,
go ahead. Yeah.
one second. Two very quick points. One, how did Hindenburg get the information? Was there any deception or fraud involved in it? What was his motive? All of that, please investigate. Please hang Hindenburg if he is guilty. But the point is the information that he is put out true or false? That should be the only thing that matters here. Please launch an investigation into Hindenburg, prosecute Hindenburg, and give him the punishment if he has violated the law. There is no issue there. But to say that because Hindenburg has profited from this, therefore whatever he says must not be taken in good faith or must not even merit an investigation is wrong. Second, why are we viewing this through the lens of Rahul Gandhi? That's because Rahul Gandhi is probably the only political leader who has actually taken this issue up. This issue is not about Rahul Gandhi. It is not about the Congress party. It is about the loss of thousands of crores, or the alleged loss of thousands of crores to state power corporations. It is about the loss of confidence in the manner in which India's stock market is run. This is not about Congress party and what points Rahul Gandhi can score. I mean, I find this entire debate. Yeah,
Unfortunately, the communication, as Tavleen said, has become about
nobody else will talk about it. No
I
other
agree,
politician
but
is willing to open his mouth and talk about it.
There was a
Okay,
lady talking
Sanjay.
about it. There was a lady talking
Sorry?
about it. There was a lady talking about it. She wanted to fight the prime
Yes,
minister in the gutter and everywhere.
yes.
Haven't
No,
heard
and
Okay.
much
by,
Yeah,
in
she
by
recent
was.
times.
Tehseen, you want to be a little more direct?
There was a lady MP who was taking it up, and
You're
then she had,
speaking, of course, about Mahua Moitra of the
yeah, and then
Trinamool
she had,
Congress. Yes.
and then she had her friend whose father is a nationalist in India, but the son is in Dubai, and all those things came up, and the son was giving information. So see, even with the Hindenburg thing, I agree with what Suman said, but Hindenburg didn't join Indian investigations. Now, why, if there is an investigation, Hindenburg was also duty bound to join it. Neither did Adani sue Hindenburg in the US. In both ends, Adani was happy saying that this report is not true. Hindenburg was happy saying, take our word for it, it is true. Neither joined the other investigation. Why didn't Hindenburg join the Indian investigation and put their money where their mouth is? Neither did Adani put his money where his mouth is by suing them for defamation in the US.
Okay, Tavleen,
And that's the
Tavleen wants to
problem.
come in, and then Sanjay. Tavleen,
yeah,
Tavleen.
I want to just give you one. It's not just politicians who've been talking about this man, it's businessmen. I live, in Bombay quite a lot of the time. And when the airport there was sold to Adani, there were all sorts of stories that the opposition parties could have brought out. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to put myself in the middle of the whole thing. But that's not the only example. There are all sorts of stories about the business practices of this group. Those are things that we need to raise. Because if there are bad business practices, if, for instance, politicians are using this group um, as a kind of as a shield, then we need to know about that. No, but we're not asking the right questions in Parliament. That's the point. I think that Mahua tried, but even with her, I think that she was too strident and she got stuck on maybe just the Hindenburg report itself. There's a lot of information in India Why aren't journalists writing about it? We need to ask about that. Why aren't you doing a story? Why are we all not doing this story? There is a story here.
Mm. What is that story, Sanjay Hegde, if you had to define it? Because you see, there is one is the allegation of cronyism. And on that, as Tavleen said, that comes down to political financing. I think we're also jaded that we all simply believe that politics has long been funded by business money and business will always remain close to whoever's in power. That's one part of the story. The other part of it is the practice of the business itself, right? The structuring of loans, of other policies. There are controversies from Australia to America involving the Adani Group. But the Adani Group, as Tehseen says, is not the only corporation, not the only giant corporation to face some of these allegations. One of the reasons that people, I think, hesitate to get too involved in it is it seems very personal. It seems that you're being pressured to talk not on the issues, but to take a side between this camp and that camp politically, this camp and that camp, even in the business world.
Yes, but the real story, to my mind, is the fact that Indians, and the Indian government seem to have invested too much in one company, one group, one person. That person, the old thing about do not put all your eggs in one basket. That person is running a business, seemingly successful, but it is based on huge debt. It is also based on a huge number of brushes with the law, and the incident that Tavleen referred to, the takeover of the Bombay airport, in another country would have had a different name altogether. So we really need to know, are we safe trusting the Indian government's supervision of its best friend, who is making ostensibly tons of money, but at the same point of time owes tons of money more? Have we tied our nation's economic sovereignty with one businessman, and how safe is that? These are questions which will not go away, irrespective of whether Hindenburg is around or whether any of us are around. We
Okay.
cannot be poised for a fall.
Sumant, you want to add to that? Last comments, please, Sumant.
Yeah, yeah. I think, Barkha, the bottom line should be, are there merit in these charges or not? Whether Hindenburg makes them, whether it is made by the devil himself. The point is, this is about a lot of very important issues which concern the people of India. I'm not looking at this purely from a SEBI perspective, where there are violations, technical violations here, there. All of that is one part of the story. Where innocent investors actually lured into buying shares through some form of insider trading is something is the major allegation, where the the shares were bought by companies which were sort of related parties and so on. So is that true or not? I mean, it is a very simple question which the government for sure knows the answer to. I don't for a moment believe that the government doesn't know the answer to it. For whatever reason, they've decided that they will not investigate in any manner. And SEBI, the charges against the SEBI chairperson are a separate issue altogether. There are fairly serious allegations about her. So what this will eventually do is, today it's one Adani. Tomorrow, if there are 4, 5, 6 cases, eventually the Indian market will lose, people will lose confidence in the market over a period of time. Today, it's not happened because this may be one huge case, but it's just 1 or 2 cases. But over a period of time, when this happens, overseas investors will start to lose confidence in the regulator and in the government and in the manner in which this market is being controlled. That is a much, much bigger problem than what happens to Mr. Adani.
I just want to say, though, to Tehseen, in terms of business sucking up to power, the United States of America has corporations falling over themselves to give money to the Trump inauguration. The Facebook Meta chief, Mark Zuckerberg, has reversed his entire policy on diversity and inclusion, on fact-checking, on political content, to be on the same side as Trump. Musk is now part of government. I sometimes think that the reason that this issue is not getting wider play is because people believe this is how power works. It's a cynical belief, but it is a deeply held belief. And it's not unique to India. Tehseen.
Mute.
We
Yeah,
need to
it's not.
unmute Tehseen.
Yeah,
Yeah, start. Yeah.
no, yeah, it's not unique to India, and that's exactly how it is. History is always written by the victor. But then there are also biases that come in. For example, I saw the whole Joe Rogan interview with the Facebook chief, the Meta chief, and ultimately most of these fact checkers, either side of the divide, are politically motivated. So there has to be larger debates. That's not what we're going into. We're just going into, has business and politics always been in bed? Yes, they've been in bed. Should there be some sort of a distance? Yes, there should be. Should there be regulations? Yes. But can there be the only obsession of a nation during a parliament at the time when there are other issues? Does that benefit politically? And lastly, in an aspirational country like India, what is it that the youth want? Ultimately, democracy is the means to empower yourself. If you have the same governments, the opposition governments giving the same industrialist contracts, then how do you go back to the same people and say this industrialist is corrupt? So those are things Tavleen is right. We need to articulate. It is a structural problem. India's regulators need to be more vigilant. But how do you articulate it? That's the problem.
But Tavleen, closing question to you. If it's about institutions, autonomy of regulators, healthy distance between decision-making and how businesses are run, that's not just about Gautam Adani. Last word to you.
I actually think that what we haven't addressed is there are ordinary Indians who pour money into the stock market. And the stock market is 10 people. It's one of them is Adani, right? And we cannot afford really to let those guys down, because instead of investing in gold, etc., they're trusting the Indian stock market. That is the question we should be asking. Had the Congress party said, on behalf of those people, I want to say that we need the stock market to have more transparency, we need political funding to be transparent, everyone would have been with Rahul Gandhi. He hasn't addressed that issue. He's just made it into, as I said, a personal attack.
I think that's an important point, that people right now don't feel that the issue is about their lives, and till they actually feel, till a sizable number of people feel this also impacts people in general, it will seem to be more politically charged and less substantive in terms of the consequence it actually holds. Thank you very much. It's been an interesting conversation. Tavleen, Tehseen, Sanjay, and Sumant. Thank you to our audience. See you soon.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.